So why do nations still dollarize? So what are the benefits of dollarization? So when do nations dollarize? What are the dangers of it? Welcome you all to the video. So dollarization is the adoption of a foreign currency as the legal tender currency. Normally all the nations have their own currency. India has Indian rupee, United States has US dollar, UK has Great Britain pound sterling, and every nation has their own currency. At the same time, there are various nations adopting foreign currency as the legal tender currency. As you all know, Indian rupee is the legal tender currency of India. Pak rupee is the legal tender currency of Pakistan. So every nation has their own currency as the legal tender currency. But there are situations in which the nations adopt foreign currency as the legal tender currency. So this is the meaning of dollarization. And dollarization, there are certain examples for dollarization in the recent in the real world situation. Dollarization is of various types. There are two categories of dollarization mainly. Dollarization can be official dollarization and unofficial dollarization. This is the first classification of dollarization. Then dollarization can be full dollarization or partial dollarization. So these are the two classifications of dollarization. So official dollarization is one of the classifications of dollarization. So in the official dollarization, as you can see in the left side of the screen, official dollarization means adoption of a foreign currency as the legal tender currency. This is officially declared by the nation. The central bank of the nation will declare a foreign currency as the legal tender currency. Then there are let me tell you some of the examples for official dollarization. Zimbabwe is an example for official dollarization. Ecuador, a Latin American country, is an example for official dollarization. So in Zimbabwe, while they are struggling from hyperinflation of 500 billion %, you cannot imagine that kind of inflation. So when Zimbabwe was struggling from the inflation of 500 billion %, so they adopted dollarization. Initially they adopted partial dollarization, but that was official dollarization because the Central Bank of Zimbabwe and the government of Zimbabwe adopted that currency on an experimental basis as one of the currencies along with their Zimbabwean dollar. Zimbabwean dollar was the national currency of Zimbabwe. Along with that currency, US dollar was adopted as a legal tender currency, but on an experimental basis in 2009. So that time Zimbabwe was struggling from the hyperinflation of 500 billion %. So the people need to carry a lot of money for purchasing a 1 kilogram of tomato. So that was the situation. That much Zimbabwe was in crisis. That time Zimbabwean Central Bank adopted US dollar as the official currency along with Zimbabwean dollar. That was partial dollarization because not fully dollarized. The country was not fully dollarized, but they adopted US dollar as one of the currencies of Zimbabwe. That was partial dollarization. And in 2015, Zimbabwean government completely demonetized their currency and adopted US dollar as the sole official currency of Zimbabwe instead of that was replacing the Zimbabwean dollar. But US dollar was not the only dollarized currency in Zimbabwe. Along with the US dollar, Australian dollar was used, pound sterling was used, even Indian rupee was used in Zimbabwe, still using in Zimbabwe, but that is not the official currency of Zimbabwe. In dollarization, dollar is not the only dollarized currency. across the world. So if Zimbabwe adopted Australian dollar as the dollarized currency, that means Australian dollar can also be a dollarized currency. When Australian dollar was adopted as a legal tender currency outside Australia. So when Indian rupee is using in Nepal, that means Nepal is dollarizing. Nepal has partially dollarized their currency as Indian rupee is also accepted in Nepal and Bhutan. So that is also the fact about dollarization, and that is official dollarization. And regarding unofficial dollarization is the adoption of a foreign currency, not as a legal tender currency, but that is a currency for medium of transaction, and that is not the legal tender currency, but that is used as a medium of transaction. There is general acceptability for that. General acceptability is one of the major requirement for a currency to be used in a country. Several examples are there for that, for unofficial dollarization. In Lebanon, that's a West Asian nation. In Lebanon, dollar is also used any part of the country, but that is not the official currency. But Lebanese pound is the national currency of Lebanon. That is also using in Lebanon. Besides that, US dollar is also acceptable in any part of Lebanon. Similarly, in Cambodia, US dollar is accepted. So that means those nations have unofficially dollarized their currency, but that is not the full dollarization. That is one of the classification: official dollarization and unofficial dollarization. Second classification is full dollarization or partial dollarization. Full dollarization is the adoption of a foreign currency as the legal tender currency by replacing the national currency. For example, I have spoke about Zimbabwe, where dollar was used as the sole official currency since 2015. So that time Zimbabwe demonetized their currency. So instead of using national currency, foreign currency is completely using as the legal tender currency. This is full dollarization. We have several other examples also in the from the real world situation. Ecuador, a Latin American country, has been using dollar as the sole official currency instead of their own currency for the past 2 decades. So these are some of the examples for full dollarization, and we have partial dollarization also. In partial dollarization, a foreign currency will be used as the legal tender currency or as the medium of transaction in the nation along with national currency. For example, in Lebanon, I have spoken about Lebanon, where Lebanese pound, the national currency of Lebanon is Lebanese pound. Lebanese pound has been using along with US dollar. US dollar is acceptable in Lebanon. You can just go to Lebanon with dollar. You don't want to carry Lebanese pound. You will not get any Lebanese pound beyond outside Lebanon. You can get dollar from any part of the world, and dollar is the mostly dollarized currency in the world. Dollarization is not only about dollar. So Indian rupee can also be dollarized. When Indian rupee is using outside the world, that is dollarization. So dollarization is the adoption of a foreign currency as the legal tender currency. So why these nations dollarize? That's what we are going to look now. So the nations adopt dollarization because of 2 reasons. One is out of necessity, and second is for getting more benefit. So regarding the necessity, when the nations are in trouble due to hyperinflation, when the monetary policy, when central bank and the central government are not able to control the economy, are not able to stabilize the economy, are not able to control the inflation, then monetary policy, when monetary policy is ineffective, they don't have an option. They can dollarize their currency by adopting a foreign currency, mostly an international currency. International currencies are mostly used as the dollarized currency. International currencies are stable currencies, hard currencies, vehicle currencies. For example, US dollar is an international currency, Australian dollar is an international currency, Japanese yen is an international currency, Euro, the second largest highly transacted currency in the world, is Euro, ever since its introduction in 1999. So international currencies are normally dollarized because they are stable currency and highly trusted currencies in the world. So when the nations are in trouble, they can dollarize. That is one of the reasons for dollarization. Another matter is dollarization becomes more beneficial to those countries which are dollarizing. For example, there are so many smaller nations in the world. You know, Vatican. Vatican is is the smallest nation in the world. It is inside Rome, the capital of Italy. So that nation adopting own currency is not economical, is not beneficial, is not good for Vatican. So they are using euro as their currency. That is dollarization. Why it is dollarization? They are not part of the eurozone, where euro is the official currency. So that is a kind of situation in which dollarization happens. Then we have another examples too. Panama is a smaller nation. They are using dollar as it is more. They are using not their currency because it is more beneficial to them. And there are so many nations using euro and US dollar as the official currency of those nations, due to as they are getting more benefit from that dollarization. So as I said, dollarization is used to stabilize the economy, to get the benefit of the strength of the dollarizing currency. So when Zimbabwe adopted US dollar as a sole official currency of Zimbabwe, they were able to manage little bit the hyperinflation. The benefits of US dollar has turned over to the Zimbabwean economy. They were able to reduce the rate of inflation. So that is one of the major benefits of dollarization. And now let's look at the dangers of dollarization. Dollarization is beneficial to some nations, and it is necessary in certain situations. For example, it was necessary for Zimbabwe to adopt dollarization in 2009 and complete dollarization in 2015. That was the only option before Zimbabwe. Now also Sri Lanka is in trouble, Pakistan is in trouble, and they are suffering hugely from hyperinflation. So when hyperinflation goes beyond the calculation, estimation, those nations will not have an option other than dollarization. So I'm now going to a little bit talk about the dangers of dollarization. The major danger of dollarization is the dollarizing country will not be able to control the money supply, will not be able to control the currency, will not be able to control the inflation. They ask their own, because the dollarizing nation is using a foreign currency. For example, Zimbabwe still using dollar as the sole official currency, US dollar. So US dollar is being controlled by the Federal Reserve, Central Bank of the United States. Zimbabwean Central Bank doesn't have any role in controlling the money supply in Zimbabwe. So that kind of situation will emerge after dollarization. Suppose India hasn't dollarized yet. We are using our own currency. We are using our national currency, Indian rupee. So that is being controlled by the Reserve Bank of India. We have a monetary policy committee. Monetary policy committee will decide the monetary policy, that is to control the money supply in Indian economy and inflation in Indian economy. So that privilege will be lost when a country dollarizes, when a country adopts a foreign currency as the legal tender currency. So there are benefits from dollarization. There are disadvantages for dollarization also. So dollarization is just the adoption of a foreign currency as the official currency or the currency for transactions. That not necessarily be US dollar. The concept is not only related to US dollar but also related to all currencies of the world. So theoretically, this is possible for all nations of the world, and in practice, various nations still dollarize.